It happened in less than a heartbeat. A sudden surge of speed, a sharp turn, a moment where everything could have gone terribly wrong. Princess Anne's convoy was moving too fast when danger appeared without warning. No alarms, no second chances. Just instinct, training, and one royal guard's split-second decision that quietly prevented a royal tragedy the world never knew was so close. What exactly happened in those few terrifying seconds? And why has this story remained largely untold until now? If stories like this fascinate you, the unseen moments, the quiet heroism behind royal life, take a second to like this video. Subscribe if you enjoy deep, emotional royal stories you won't hear anywhere else. And share this with someone who loves the royal family as much as you do. Let's get into it. It was supposed to be routine. That's the word most often used when describing royal movements: routine, scheduled, controlled. But on that particular day, nothing stayed routine for long. Princess Anne's convoy cut through the countryside with quiet urgency. No flashing spectacle, no dramatic fanfare. Just a smooth procession of dark vehicles moving with practiced precision. To the casual observer, it would have looked calm, almost ordinary. But beneath that calm was speed, purpose, and a timeline that allowed no room for error. Princess Anne sat composed in the rear seat, posture upright, expression steady. Those who know her well would say that calm is not an act. It's who she is. Decades of royal duty had trained her to remain unflinching, even when circumstances pressed in from all sides. Still, even the most unshakable nerves cannot predict the unexpected, and the unexpected arrived without warning. The road ahead curved sharply tighter than anticipated. At the same time, an unmarked vehicle appeared, drifting just slightly out of its lane. Not enough to raise alarms, not enough to trigger protocol, but enough to change everything. In moments like these, there is no time for debate, no room for hesitation. Everything depends on instinct. Inside the lead protection vehicle, a royal guard noticed something most would have missed. The angle of the car, the speed, the distance shrinking too fast. His training kicked in before conscious thought could catch up. Hands tightened, muscles reacted, and in a fraction of a second, a decision was made that would never appear in an official statement. The convoy adjusted, not dramatically, not enough for cameras to notice. Just a subtle maneuver, calculated, controlled, precise. The guard altered positioning, shielding the princess's vehicle from potential impact while maintaining speed and balance. To anyone watching from the roadside, it would have looked like nothing at all. But nothing at all was the difference between safety and catastrophe. The tires gripped the road. The convoy cleared the curve. The unmarked vehicle passed without incident. And just like that, the danger was gone. No screeching brakes, no sudden stops, no visible panic, only silence. Inside the princess's vehicle, Anne remained calm. She felt the shift. Of course she did. Royals like her are acutely aware of their surroundings. But she didn't flinch, didn't question, didn't turn her head. Why? Because she trusted the people around her completely. That trust is not given lightly. It is earned through years of quiet confidence, through moments just like this, moments the public never sees. What makes this moment extraordinary isn't just how close it came. It's how easily it could have ended differently. At that speed, on that curve, a single misjudgment would have triggered chaos. A collision, a chain reaction. Headlines no one wants to imagine. And yet, the world never knew. The convoy continued. The schedule stayed intact. The princess arrived as planned. History moved on. But inside the mind of that royal guard, the moment replayed again and again. Not out of fear, but out of responsibility. That is the unspoken burden of those who protect the royal family. When they succeed, nothing happens. And when nothing happens, no one notices. That's the paradox. Royal Guards are trained to disappear into success. Their greatest achievement is invisibility. No applause, no interviews, no recognition. Just another day where disaster didn't happen. Yet think about this for a moment. How many lives are defined not by what happened, but by what almost did? Princess Anne has lived a life filled with near misses, quiet dangers, and moments where fate hovered just inches away. This was one of them. And like many others, it passed without ceremony. But make no mistake, this was not luck. It was training, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to duty. Royal protection is not glamorous. It is relentless. Guards rehearse scenarios, endlessly high-speed threats, sudden obstructions, unpredictable drivers. They train their minds to stay ahead of danger, to read the road like a language most people never learn.
That day, every hour of that training mattered. And here's the part that gives this moment its true weight. Princess Anne never asked what happened. She didn't need to. She knew. She knew because she had spent her life surrounded by professionals who exist solely to ensure she never has to ask that question. Their job is not to explain danger. It is to erase it before it reaches her. By the time the convoys slowed and the countryside stretched out again, the scare was already part of the past. Filed away, unspoken, forgotten by everyone except those who lived it. And that's exactly how it's meant to be. But stories like this deserve to be told, not for drama, not for fear, but for understanding. Understanding the thin line that separates history from tragedy, and the quiet heroes who walk that line every single day. Because sometimes the most powerful moments in royal history don't happen on balconies or in grand halls. They happen on a curved road, at high speed, in less than a second. To understand what happened that day, you first have to understand the kind of person who sits behind the wheel of a royal protection vehicle. Not the uniform, not the medals, the mind. A royal guard does not think like an ordinary driver. They are trained to see the road as a living system. Every bend, every shadow, every vehicle part of a constantly shifting equation. While most people focus on where they're going, a royal guard focuses on everything that could go wrong before it does. From the outside, the training looks almost repetitive. Endless driving drills, simulated threats, high-speed maneuvers practiced again and again until muscle memory takes over. But repetition is the point, because when danger appears, there is no time to think it through. Thinking is too slow. Instinct saves lives. In training facilities hidden far from public view, royal guards are placed under relentless pressure. Loud noises, sudden obstacles, conflicting commands. They're taught to operate while their heart rate spikes, while adrenaline floods the body, while the brain is screaming to react too fast or freeze. Most people would panic. Royal guards are trained not to. One instructor famously described it this way: "Your body will panic. Your job is to ignore it." That's easier said than done. At high speed, even a 1-second delay can be fatal. That's why Royal Guard are trained to make decisions in fractions of seconds. Decisions that weigh risk, speed, proximity, and protection all at once. Protect the principal. Maintain control. Avoid escalation. Those priorities are drilled until they override fear itself. On the day of Princess Anne's scare, that training was tested in the real world. The guard didn't analyze the situation in words. There was no internal monologue saying, "This car is drifting. The curve is tight." Instead, the brain recognized a pattern. Something was off. Something didn't align with expectations. And that's the key. Royal Guards are trained to notice deviations. A vehicle moving slightly too fast. A driver not reacting as expected. A turn that feels tighter than it should. These small signals are rarely dramatic on their own, but combined, they create a warning most people would never consciously register. When that warning appeared, the guard didn't hesitate. Hesitation is the enemy. He adjusted position instinctively, placing his vehicle where it needed to be, not where it was most comfortable, shielding Princess Anne's car without drawing attention, maintaining speed without triggering instability. It was a balance so precise that even many trained drivers would struggle to execute it under calm conditions, let alone at speed. And here's what most people don't realize. Royal Guards are trained to assume responsibility for outcomes they will never explain. If something goes wrong, it's on them. If something goes right, it disappears into silence. There are no second chances. That weight shapes the way they think. Every action is calculated, but not cautious. There is a difference. Caution slows you down. Calculation keeps you alive. Inside the guard's mind during those seconds, there was no fear for personal safety. That comes later, sometimes much later. In the moment, the only concern is the person behind them, the royal, the life entrusted to their hands. Princess Anne, known for her fearlessness, has always respected that kind of professionalism. She understands danger. She understands risk. But she also understands trust. That trust is built long before moments like this. Royal Guards spend years learning how each royal moves, reacts, and behaves under pressure. They study posture, habits, even silence. Because protection isn't just physical, it's psychological. A calm principle is a safer principle. And the princess's composure that day wasn't accidental. It was reinforced by the confidence she had in those around her. The guard knew that any sudden, dramatic action would ripple backward. Panic spreads fast. Calm spreads faster. So the response remained invisible. After the convoy cleared the curve, there was no celebration, no release of tension. The guard stayed focused. Because training doesn't end when danger passes. It ends when the mission does. Only later, perhaps hours afterward, would the body catch up with what the mind had suppressed. The delayed tremor, the quiet exhale, the realization of how close it had been. That's another reality of the job. Royal Guards don't process fear in the moment. They compartmentalize it, put it away, deal with it later, if at all. Many never speak of these moments, not even to colleagues. Silence is part of the discipline. And that silence is why the public rarely hears stories like this. But make no mistake, this was not luck. This was not coincidence. This was the product of years of preparation, meeting one unpredictable moment. The guard did exactly what he was trained to do. Nothing more, nothing less. And because of that, history stayed the same. Princess Anne continued her duties. The day ended without incident. The world moved on, unaware of how narrowly disaster had been avoided. But inside the closed, disciplined world of royal protection, this moment would quietly join countless others, a reminder why the training exists, why the pressure never eases, and why perfection is not a goal but a requirement. Because for a royal guard, success looks like nothing happened at all. To fully grasp why that high-speed moment felt so quietly intense, you have to understand the woman at the center of it. Princess Anne is not a royal shaped by comfort. She is shaped by motion, discipline, and a lifetime of walking straight toward risk without flinching. From an early age, Anne was different. While others leaned into ceremony, she leaned into action. Horses instead of headlines. Purpose instead of performance. Even as a young royal, she showed a rare independence, one that didn't seek approval and didn't wait to be told what was possible. That mindset would follow her for decades. She grew up in a world where danger was never theoretical. Royal life carries an unspoken reality. Visibility invites risk. Anne learned early that courage wasn't loud. It was practical. Show up, do the job, move forward. That approach defined her reputation. By adulthood, Princess Anne had already earned respect not because of her title, but because of her resilience. She competed at the highest levels in equestrian sport, representing Britain on the world stage. That alone says something. Olympic competition requires a tolerance for risk most people never experience. Speed, precision, control, one wrong movement, and everything falls apart. Sound familiar? It's no coincidence that Anne feels comfortable at speed. She understands momentum. She understands balance. And she understands that fear, when unmanaged, is more dangerous than the obstacle itself. That understanding has carried her through moments that would have shaken others. Over the years, she has faced attempted kidnappings, serious accidents, and relentless public scrutiny, all without altering her stride. She does not dramatize danger. She absorbs it, assesses it, moves past it. So when the convoy shifted that day, She didn't panic. She didn't need reassurance. She had lived through far worse. Princess entrusts systems, not spectacle. She trusts preparation, not promises. And perhaps most importantly, she respects competence above all else. That's why the bond between her and her security teams has always been unusually strong. There is no illusion between them, and knows exactly what her guards are trained for. She knows the risks they calculate on her behalf, and she knows that when something feels off, they will act before words are ever spoken. That mutual understanding creates a rare dynamic, one where calm is contagious. In many ways, Princess N's presence makes her own protection easier. She doesn't second-guess. She doesn't demand explanations in the moment. She doesn't let ego override expertise. Those traits matter more than most people realize. In high-pressure environments, the behavior of a protected individual can either stabilize or destabilize the entire operation, and stabilizes. That's why moments like the high-speed scare never escalate, because the princess doesn't escalate them. And yet, there's another layer to this story, one that often goes overlooked. Princess N has spent her life refusing special treatment. She works more engagements than nearly any other royal. She travels relentlessly. She moves through unpredictable environments, all by choice. That commitment increases exposure. More travel means more roads. More roads mean more variables. And more variables mean more moments where something unexpected can happen. She accepts that risk without complaint. Why? Because duty to her is not symbolic. It is practical. Being present matters. Showing up matters. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's dangerous. That philosophy is why she remains one of the most respected figures in the royal family. Not because she seeks attention, but because she avoids it. And that makes her high-speed scare especially revealing. It wasn't dramatic because, and doesn't allow drama to define her. It was handled quietly because quiet competence has always been her way. There were no headlines because there was no spectacle. And there was no spectacle because everyone involved, from the guard to Princess herself, did exactly what they were meant to do. That is rare. In a world that often thrives on chaos, Princess N represents something older, steadier, more disciplined, a version of royalty built not on emotion, but on endurance. She doesn't chase safety, but she respects it. She doesn't fear danger, but she never underestimates it. And she understands something most people never will, that survival often depends not on bravery in the moment, but on preparation long before it. The high-speed scare was just another example of that truth. A brief intersection of risk and readiness. A moment where decades of experience, hers and protectors, aligned perfectly. Nothing happened. And for Princess N, that was exactly the point. When the convoy finally slowed and the road stretched open again, there was no audible sign that anything unusual had occurred. No raised voices over radio. No sudden stops. No shaken officials stepping out to assess damage that never happened. That was the victory. Princess N arrived exactly where she was meant to be, on time, composed, and ready to carry on with her duties. To the public, it was just another royal appearance, another handshake, another schedule kept. No one applauds that kind of normality. But behind the scenes, something unspoken lingered in the air, a shared awareness. The royal guard returned to routine without ceremony. That's how it always works. There's no moment where someone claps a hand on your shoulder and says, "Well done, you just prevented disaster." In royal protection, acknowledgement is subtle. Sometimes it's just a look, a nod, a quiet understanding between professionals who know exactly what almost happened. And then life moves on. That may sound cold, but it's not. It's discipline. Royal protection operates on a simple, unforgiving rule. If you do your job perfectly, no one notices you at all. The absence of chaos is the only proof of success. For the guard involved that day, the incident would never appear on a resume. It would never be recounted at a dinner table. It would never make its way into a public report. Not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered too much. Silence protects the system. And that silence is part of why these stories feel almost unreal when we finally hear them. We're used to heroism being loud, visible, rewarded. But royal protection exists in a different moral space, one where ego is a liability and attention is a threat. The guard didn't save the day in the way movies teach us to expect. There was no dramatic swerve, no last-second crash avoidance caught on camera. Instead, there was something far harder: restraint. He made the smallest possible intervention at the exact right moment. That takes confidence. It also takes trust that the training will hold, that the vehicle will respond, that the person you're protecting will remain calm. And in Princess Anne's case, that trust was well placed. She never acknowledged the moment publicly. She never needed to. Royals like and understand something deeply. Recognition can wait. Duty cannot. The public often sees royalty as insulated from danger, escorted, shielded, removed from real risk. But stories like this quietly dismantle that illusion. Royal life does not eliminate danger. It manages it. And sometimes it manages it by the narrowest of margins. That high-speed scare didn't change history. And that's precisely why it matters. Because history is shaped not only by the moments we see, but by the disasters that never happen, by the crises that dissolve before they're named, by the people who carry the weight of consequence without ever stepping into the spotlight. Royal guards live in that space every day. They wake up knowing that perfection is not optional, that a single lapse could ripple outward in ways no one can fully predict. And yet, they show up anyway. Calm, prepared, invisible. Princess Anne's life has been protected by countless such moments, moments that never made the news, never sparked debate, never demanded explanation, each one reinforcing a system built on quiet excellence. And that's the real story here. Not fear, not drama, but trust. Trust between a princess who understands risk and a guard who understands responsibility. Trust built over years of shared discipline and mutual respect. Trust strong enough to hold in the most fragile seconds. So the next time you see a royal convoy pass by, smooth, uneventful, almost boring, remember this story. Remember that behind that calm is a network of people constantly scanning, calculating, and preparing for dangers you'll never notice. And remember that sometimes the most extraordinary acts of service look exactly like nothing happened at all. That day on the road could have rewritten history. Instead, it preserved it, quietly, perfectly. And that is the unseen strength of the royal family's protection, not in the moments that make headlines, but in the moments that never do.